Metagross Freak here with something I thought I wouldn't find. That is Transformers, Robots in Disguise, Combiner Force Bumblebee. Obviously, this is a re-release of Bumblebee, just like Grimlock. He comes, as you can see, with his Decepticon Hunter sword. Honestly, this is just a really nice looking Bumblebee. I've looked at I think it's two or three different Bumblebees that are out for the last night, and I've never really been too impressed with the animated version of Bumblebee or even Hotshot, who is technically Bumblebee. He, of course, transforms into a Camaro-like car in 7 Easy Steps. And I mean, I just like his artwork. This version of Bumblebee, I just really like. I mean, I haven't actually seen that much of Transformers Prime. I really need to get around to watching it. But this version of Bumblebee I really like because you can definitely tell he's gone from being the kid appeal character to being an actual leader now. I just really like this version of him. And I wasn't expecting to find it either. I was at a local Target. There's a bunch of Targets near my house. So I check in on them periodically, and I found this. So I'm assuming, since it's almost the 2017 holiday season, that that Target decided to empty out some of their extra stock now that the series is officially over. In case you weren't aware, Robots in Disguise has officially ended with the season finale of the Combiner Force sub-season. So it's really unfortunate that I wasn't able to get a Bumblebee until after the series ended, but I think compared to every other Bumblebee or Hotshot or kind of related character that's been out since I've started watching Transformers, I think I honestly like this version the best. Here's Bumblebee in robot mode, and I gotta say, I'm actually kind of impressed by some of this detail. He looks like he has a very similar transformation, maybe to Drift. Just because he's got this kind of panel that flips over his head, and he's got the hood sections, the windows that kind of gull wing door down onto the back of his legs. I mean, if he does have a very similar transformation to Drift, that's perfectly fine. I actually really liked my Drift figure. And just looking at his sword, this is a really nice sword. I kind of wish they had painted it a little bit, but as you can hopefully see, I know it's a little blurry, they've got some nice detail on this. And the hilt looked actually long enough that you could potentially, if you were able to get the articulation right, hold it in both hands. Speaking of which, the hands are actually really well detailed. I know you won't be able to see it, but like each finger is a three. It has like is molded to look like it has full finger articulation. Like humanoid fingers, not only on the outside but on the inside of the hands too, which is kind of neat. And just the weapon is of course very nicely scaled. It looks like it was designed to be Bumblebee sized. I mean, he has fairly standard articulation. The only thing that's really different is the doors of his car, rather than being the arms or the shoulders, or actually, sorry, the arms or the wings. They're wings, kind of like a Strong Arm has, but rather than just being on a hinge, they have a kind of a soft ratchet, as you can hopefully see there. So they get a nice clickety-clackety sound as they bend in and out. And I'm assuming that means you can easily just open and close the doors in vehicle mode. And that, because it doesn't look like they have any tabs on them, except for maybe some really tiny, like, just pressure tabs. That's kind of cool. I'm actually kind of excited about that. The wheels roll fairly nicely, but we'll have to wait until it's in vehicle mode to see how well it does. Head is on a ball joint, so we can get that up and down, left and right. We can get a little bit of wiggle waggle, but he has some very nice light piping. He has some, as you'll hopefully be able to see, he does have this light blue light piping that is able to go all the way through his face. Though he doesn't really have too much in the way of facial expressions, just has kind of the classic Bumblebee smirk with his blue eyes. I like this figure. For comparison, here he is with Robots in Disguise Combiner for Soundwave. You can see they're roughly the same size. Soundwave is maybe a little bit taller due to his horns, but about the same size. And then here he is compared to Gold Armor Grimlock. I didn't want to transform my other Grimlock, but here he's next to Gold Armor Grimlock, and obviously the Grimlock figures are a little underscaled, but yeah, I mean, he scales very nicely with the other Warrior class figures. I'm really happy with this. I'm definitely going to be putting this on my shelf next to my Optimus. Here's Bumblebee in vehicle mode, and it's actually really nice. It easily fits in the palm of a hand. It rolls nicely, all four wheels. There is storage for the sword, as you can see. It just kind of nicely tabs in to the undercarriage, though it doesn't seem like there's any other place to put it, so at least they gave you storage rather than just having a loose sword. If I have to have one downside about this vehicle mode, it's that even though the windows are really nice, you can see robot parts easily underneath. Especially in the back window, you can see the robot mode chest with, of course, his Autobot symbol. Now, you can, if you want, kind of untab this whole canopy section. I mean, Drift does basically the same thing, but his whole canopy section essentially is that smoky gray. See, if you untab that, you see his whole torso. You see the basically the robot crotch. Not only that, but basically my whole issues with this canopy, because the canopy also is it's a slightly different yellow plastic. It is essentially it's a slightly different color yellow. Excuse me. It's essentially this transparent clear plastic painted this yellow, and so it looks a little different. Especially in the sections up here on the top, you can definitely tell it's a slightly different shade of yellow. The Bumblebee wings that he has on his back kind of tab in very loosely to a couple little places on the canopy and the legs and the shoulders. They don't really stay tabbed, as you can see, like here they don't really stay tabbed in. You kind of have to just fiddle with it until it stays in place, and even then it doesn't really stay in place. And unfortunately, because of the way the hinges work, you can't open and close the doors very much, except for like that much, which isn't enough to get the doors open, and they open up the wrong way. So I feel like if they had just designed the doors a little differently, they could have had a really cool opportunity. But they kind of missed out on that because of the way they designed it. That being said, if you have this vehicle mode sitting on your shelf, it's going to be very cool. It's going to look great with your other Transformers. If you have the robot mode on your shelf, it'll look really cool too. Speaking of on the shelf of other Transformers, here he is next to his second in command, his partner Cadet Strongarm. You can see that she is a little bit taller, but that's mostly because she is, for the most part, her shoulders and head and torso make her a shell former, as opposed to Bumblebee, who folds up rather compactly. Here's Bumblebee compared to, I guess, probably a better analog for him would be Alpine Drift, which is the drift that I chose to get as opposed to the orange drift. And you can see they are basically identical in size. They have very similar, if you flip them over, very similar transformation schemes. Just kind of reversed to the point where Bumblebee's head is, at the back of the car, and Drift's head is at the front of the car, but basically very, very similar transformation schemes, especially in the legs and arms, and in the way that they fold up. I'd say kind of these three look very nice together. If I could get Grimlock in the frame, and if I had a Warrior Class Sideswipe, they would be kind of a nice little happy family. What else more can I say than I really love this figure. I think just the vehicle mode is great. I think the robot mode is great. I mean, they even like have like little detail things I didn't even realize. Like the windshield parts go down just enough, not the windshield, but the canopy parts go down just enough that it kind of forms heels to help make him stable in the back. I love this figure. It's gonna look great on my shelf next to some of my other favorite Autobots. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I've been Metagross Freak, and have a great one.